Welcome to Comics League Live. This is Sparta!
Oh, that's a good start.
Had to start it that way, boys. So today, we're talking about what is quite possibly the greatest Zack Snyder movie ever, short of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Max, I'm looking at you. So we're talking about 300, the movie that when you watch it makes every dude that watches it feel bad for not spending enough time in the gym.
Oh yeah,
100%. Yeah.
So to help me with this discussion, I've got some very important guests. I've got Salty Texas. Salty, welcome back to Comics League.
Thanks for having me back, Jared. It's great to see you, and of course, always great to see the Admiral and my man MVP, and then also that guy from Canada too.
That dude from Canada. Yeah. So we have Erdporial. Welcome to the Comics League.
Well, thank you for having me on.
And
gave me a reason to rewatch 300 today, so that's why I have almost 10 pages of notes.
Oh,
yeah.
That's like me in school. Hey, a Dega Outlaw. And then we also have Zach making his return. Well, welcome back to Comics League.
Hey, thanks, Nerporial. How tired is your wrist after watching that movie?
Very tired.
Attaboy. Good.
It's from slaying all them Persians, bro. And then we have the dude that actually gave me the idea for the stream, Max MVP Priestley. Max, how you doing?
I am fantastic, man. Yeah, thank you so much. I've been really enjoying watching your channel. You had Wes on earlier this week, and you've been putting out some great stuff. So yeah, man, it's great to be here with a fantastic panel. I can't think of anyone else that would better understand this movie and better be able to talk about it in more detail.
Of course. Now, before we get started, there's just one thing I want to say to the Comics League audience. We just passed. We're at like 100 and how many subs? It's been a while since I checked it. We were at 137 subs, so nice, I appreciate all the subs. It's like in about a couple of days we passed 100, so I am very happy about that. We're going to keep on growing. So
hell yeah.
On to 300. Now, those of you that know me know that I am a little bit of a fan of Zack Snyder's film work, as as the dudes that were on our film contest can tell you.
Passionate.
Very passionate. So
dedicated.
Good work. Yeah, good work.
Dedicated.
Yeah,
Scary.
dedicated. Well, let me put it this way. This is why I always tell people, just like what you like. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so this movie. So when I watched 300 for the first time, I was actually on a car trip to Disney World when I was like, I don't know, 12. My mom was like, here, Jared, you would love this movie because I'm a big fan of military history. So she's like, okay, just watch this. So I watched it and I'm like, this is so badass. I'm like, Gerard Butler telling a god, well, sorry, I can't kneel because I'm getting hamstring issues. It's just the sarcasm in this movie was so great.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to go around the panel, starting with Salty. Salty, your thoughts on 300?
I saw it in the theater. I thought it was fantastic. I have it on Blu-ray. I rewatched part of it, and then I also skipped ahead some of my favorite parts. And it's hard to cut it down to just 10 main things that are the coolest. But this movie has it all. And above all, this is the one instance where the gratuitous stop motion work that is Zack Snyder is both praised and laughed at for, let's be honest. It actually is incredibly effective, especially when you have those fight scenes. It is a masterpiece. That is where his skill set is really it shines, and I hope he does more graphic novel adaptations that have that same attention to detail he put into 300, because it's a freaking masterpiece. It is incredible. And Gerard Butler,
oh yes, oh,
could anybody else have played
No.
Leonidas? Could anybody have? And it's like, it's a beautiful
This
movie,
is Sparta line. That was all improv.
Wow.
I'm like, well, you just made that movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10 for me. It really is. And as time has gone on, it is one of those movies that at the time, I think we were so used to getting quality entertainment. We're like, oh yeah, that was a really good movie. And now we're like, that is God tier. That is a
Yeah.
God tier movie now, you know?
I'll go on the the record of saying that, yeah, there are some times where I see a Zack Snyder movie and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. Like him pairing up Batman and Wonder Woman in the DCEU, because that makes no sense. Max knows how I feel about this. But I will say 300 is like the one movie that I'm like, so perfect movies are possible. 301. I'm talking about the first one.
Oh yeah.
I don't even. What there was a second one, but wasn't it something called like Rise of the
Rise of the
300?
Empire? Yeah, it was
That's
the one
what
that
it was,
was like, it was taking place during and after the first movie.
Was that based on
okay.
any like graphic novel, or was that just written?
I think it was just written, because the Xerxes one that was the follow-up to 300 is not that.
Mm. Well, yeah, I mean, this one is perfectly ripped from Frank Miller's graphic novel. There are panels that are just panel for panel like
Yeah,
shot
the
for shot
Persians
remakes.
falling over the cliff.
100%, man. And they really nailed like even though the designs were simple, they really did a great job of portraying the comic book on the screen.
Mhm.
So you got to respect the hell out of that. And
yeah.
you could say that this is Zack Snyder's best comic adaptation of a film, even though he's done Justice League Superman, Batman v Superman, you know, all these different ones. This, in my opinion, would be his most accurate adaptation of what, you know.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Like, so.
I'll
They
give you
do.
that.
Did they do Sin City by any chance? Or was
I
it
thought that
someone
was
else?
Romero.
Yeah, I
I
think-
could be wrong.
I don't think that was Snyder.
Rodriguez?
Okay.
Oh, was it was Rodriguez. I knew it was an
I
R.
think so.
Yeah.
But the great thing about this film is, like you were saying, Salty, it ages like fine wine.
Yeah.
And some of the techniques that they utilized even for this, where you get the classic shot of Leonidas kind of breaking through the shield wall, and you have that moment in the first battle at Thermopylae, I believe, at the Hot Gates, where he's just going through guys. He's getting one guy next,
where
from
he
the
goes,
next to the
this
next.
is where they die.
Yes.
Yep.
And they have it's that slow-mo Zack Snyder action scene.
Oh
But
yes.
the camera is zooming in to him real close, and then it'll flash back out to a wide shot. And that technique that they had to use was, I think they had to use like 2 or 3 different cameras that were all in the same spot. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And because they had to splice them together to make it look like it was one consistent camera, zoom. And yeah, that was Gerard the whole time. That wasn't his stunt double. That wasn't anyone else. That was Gerard doing those shots. It was really, really cool to see that.
This whole all of Zack Snyder's work, when you see what he's able to do, I'm like, this dude's a wizard. That's part of why I like his movies so much, because just the way he can tell that visual story. Granted, there are some times where arguably it's overdone, I will admit it, but like when you take a movie like 300 or Justice League, the way that he's able to like use all these different camera tricks to have all these really like amazing special effects like blows me away every time I watch these movies.
Yeah, for sure, man. I agree.
So, Nerdporial, you basically wrote an entire college level paper on 300.
Oh no, it's basically just writing what happened so I remember and stuff. So,
okay.
But yeah, I remember the movie came out. I remember it was marketed like crazy. Like I was in college. I think I was in my 4th year of college, and everybody was talking about it. Everybody. So it got to the point where I eventually had to see it. I wasn't sure if it was to my taste. I was into older movies at that point, but I still loved, stuff like Lord of the Rings. And so I figured, I might as well go give it a shot. And I wasn't familiar with, I didn't read comics. I didn't even know about Watchmen or, all the famous graphic novels and stuff. So I went in kind of blind and stuff, but I'll be honest, 300 is, I love it more. I was kind of on the fence back then. I wasn't sure if it was up to my cup of tea, but now, after seeing it, this movie's freaking awesome. Like, I love the comic booky look, which I feel is lacking in a lot of superhero films now. They're trying to be grounded, and I'm like, why? At this point,
and
why?
sympathetic heroes. And can I just say, I'm sorry, Nerdportal, I didn't mean to leave you off the tweet. It's something that happened on Twitter. It wasn't intentional, and it's all Jared's fault at yelling at me to type faster. Jared,
I retweeted. I saw my name on it. I saw my handle on it.
But I acknowledged it. Jared, if you want to take my screen, I have the audio off. This is the scene we were describing.
Oh,
I tried
sure.
to pull some
Absolutely.
of these up. So,
Oh,
here we go.
jeez. Look
Here we
at
go.
Just jeez.
That's
This
great.
movie basically turned everyone on to, Spartans were cool.
Yeah.
It
Look at
didn't
this.
hurt.
He had 3
Look
cameras.
at
you're
this.
saying?
And the editing is
And the lovely
seamless.
Sherry. Yeah,
It's absolutely
it's amazing.
Oh, and the
And
best
the-
part.
Just the falling spear. Oh!
Yeah, we can describe it all you want until you actually watch that, man.
Yeah.
It's you got to see the full effect. You really do.
That is amazing. And once I think one of the reasons why, going back to what you said, Salty, about the slow-mo working here, I think it's because it's like we've never seen like slow-mo used with like a historical film, whereas opposed there's always slow motion in any superhero film. So really, this was a new way of showing it.
It made me think of a video game too. It made me think of QuickTime events in video games too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Especially the part with I'm gonna even though it was a slave, I basically said, "Oh my gosh, the Persians have a cave troll." They got him loose and then they sent him out.
Nice.
But that was pretty much a boss fight right there.
Pretty much,
Freaking
yeah.
awesome.
That's where Leonidas gets his scar.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, right down the. Good thing it was wearing his helm.
Yeah. But
I was going to say that this
go
is the
ahead.
movie that almost killed Gerard Butler.
Oh,
Really?
Yeah, he because so much of it was so physical, they didn't use stuntmen, and he was involved in almost every scene with the combat, and he was physically, like, one of his arms was purple at one point, and he got hooked on painkillers, had to use steroids to get to the size that he was.
Oh,
and,
Jesus.
both of his shoulders, I think, had to have surgery after the filming of the movie, and he got a hernia.
Shoot.
And
my
so, like,
God.
his recovery from this was why you didn't really see him in as much action films directly after this, was because of this film. But he put all of himself into it, and it shows, because those scenes with the slow-mo, like, they're perfect, and part of it is because he's so physical.
It's a great he plays a leader, someone that I would literally give my life for in battle, you know.
Yes.
And, it's his physical presence, it's his emotional presence, everything about his portrayal here. And that's why I loved 300, because it took itself seriously.
Yeah.
It had jokes in there, you know, when they're laughing, they're like, "Fight in the shade, you had to say it," right? And everyone's laughing, blah, blah. But it takes itself so seriously, which is such a goofy concept. It's like a comic book movie, but it takes itself seriously. And I love the scene where the Persian ships are all being sunken down by the storm.
So good.
And everyone's like cheering, and they're all laughing, and they're celebrating. And then the narration goes, but one man, you know, keeps his demeanor. And it's Leonidas, and he has a shield, and he puts it down, and the rain is coming. And you can really just feel his presence being there on the screen. And like you said, Zach, that's attributed to his sacrifice of the film. And those guys, I mean, you talk to Hugh Jackman and you listen to interviews with him, they are, every time they're on screen, they are depleted of water, of salt, of food. They're essentially going onto stage for a bodybuilding competition. You know, like they are so deprived of any type of food that's why they look so good. So that's such a great that's a really interesting fact, though, Zach. Thanks for mentioning that, man. I had no idea that it took that much of a toll on his body.
I was wondering, because he had such a big hit and then you didn't see him, you know, and that explains a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Going back to that, to him being a leader, one of the things that I love the most about 300, and this is going back to what you were talking about, Max, is that how it portrays him as a leader that actually follows his troops in a combat. Like, he was right there in in the front lines, as opposed to like we see like more modern war movies. You got like the general / king / whatever the hell your leader's called. It's like all the way at the edge. He's like all the way like the safest part of combat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a captain in the Marines.
Yeah.
Whoa,
Let me.
Okay. All right. I see there.
Shots fired.
All right.
Oh, here
I'm
we
gonna
go,
play.
yeah.
I'm gonna play a little audio. I'm gonna time it out
All
at
right.
7 seconds. Here we go.
Sky with thunderbolts, and batters the Persian ships with hurricane wind.
Yes.
Glory.
It's
gotta-
unbelievable, and of course
Look
the
at that.
So cool.
and everybody's excited, but one man.
Yeah, because he
Kept
knows.
his
Guess what?
Spartan.
We still got to fight these Persians.
Yeah.
That was
One
only
man.
a fraction of the fleet.
Yeah.
One man kept his Spartan reserve.
Yeah. Look at that.
Look at that, man.
Yeah.
It does not get better than that. Seriously.
And once again, also, what's kind of interesting, and one of the things I love about Zack Snyder movies is that I could take that line, that like frame of him just standing there with the spear, and just hang it on my wall.
I'm pretty sure a lot of guys probably did.
And that's debatable.
But
She even said that. Yeah. Arguably, he got better if you've seen Justice League.
well, it's weird because he, what was that most recent zombie movie he made?
Army of the
he
Dead.
used- yeah, Army of the
that
Dead.
sucked.
Thank you.
That sucks.
it was-
Sorry. It sucks so
The
much.
the field of depth was, or depth of field, excuse me, was all off because he used like a different lens, and it was like an old timey lens from the early 1900s or something. And so the depth of field was like totally weird, and it felt claustrophobic and stuff. And I'm like, no, go back to what you were doing with 300, man. Don't be doing all this weird experimental stuff. Like stick with your, whatever you did there. Just keep doing that,
Yeah,
But
and have a good story. How about that? Because that story was not good at all. I mean, you could have put up with some of the crazy things that you said. The depth of field was weird, but the story on that movie was so terrible. It had a couple good action sequences, but man, it was nowhere near what I expected.
And the concept is interesting, right? I mean, like for the most part, I guess it's an interesting concept, but the execution maybe might have been there. But
Yeah.
I will give Zach credit because when this came out, he was like, in my opinion, on the same level of directorial debuts as like. Okay, I got everyone. I got Zach's giving me a hard time. I got LT giving me a hard time. All my military guys are bagging on me right now, but that's all right. It's because they're jealous.
Yeah, they are.
No, I'm kidding. But yeah, no. Zack Snyder, this film put him on the map for me. This was like something that really has stayed in my mind. This film, every image is a piece of art, and
Exactly.
like you said, Jared, you could take any shot from that film, and you could hang it up in your wall, and it'd look like a painting.
So now what I want to do, and chat, you can participate in this as well. I want to go around our favorite scenes. I have two. Number one is This Is Sparta, and then and then my second one was the one where he's talking to Xerxes, and Xerxes says, like, if you don't surrender, I'll go into to Sparta. Think of your women, and then Leonidas goes, you obviously don't know our women. I might as well just walk them out here, based upon what I've been fighting all day.
Yeah,
I just love that level of disrespect he's giving to a guy that God, air quotes.
I'll pull up those clips if you guys give me a second. So, which was the first one? Just because I've got them all handy for you. Because
This Is Sparta.
Okay, you got it.
And while he does that, Zach's favorite scene from the movie.
Push. When they push,
Yes.
Yeah.
they take it and they take it and they take it. Then it's over. It's now it's on. Now you're off the edge, and push. That's my favorite scene.
Max.
Real quick to that,
Yeah,
Zach.
oh yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say with that scene, they actually edited it, and the sound design on it was perfect too, because it stops. all the music stops and the sound stops. You know, everything drops out, and it's still, and then you're like, everyone in the theater is like, what the hell is about to happen?
Yeah.
And then you hear push, and then you hear the shields batter against and the spears come into play. So how they edited that and how the sound design was at that point really made that push even more impactful.
And also, the Spartans are also like taunting the Persians, like, is that the best you could do?
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. And then here's the clip.
Yeah.
You
ready
guys
for
are
it?
screwed.
Yeah.
And she gives.
Make sure
notice how
she nods.
This is an actual strong woman. She gives the command to Leonidas.
Exactly.
He consults his queen.
This is Sparta!
And it's actually kind of cool because previous to that, he goes when he pulls the sword on the dude. He goes, "You bring the heads of conquered kings to my steps. You insult my queen. You threaten my people with slavery and the death. Oh, I've chosen my words carefully, Persian. You probably should have done the same." Like, oh yes.
So was that supposed to be a well? I always wonder what the hell that was.
Was that to be a well?
That was a big well.
Yeah,
that is deep as hell.
That is a deep
like
well.
they're going and going and going.
Okay.
Earth and water. You will find plenty of both down there.
Yes, that was a great one.
They have such fantastic lines in this movie.
Oh.
It's very
source material.
Yeah,
the source material is great, and I think they also didn't go with the pettiness route of utilizing modern language. You know, he could have easily said, he could have easily utilized expletives or something in the film, but it seems like it is an ancient language, but they're speaking in modern like nuances, I guess.
Because they talk about freedom and rights and stuff, and they say country as opposed to, I think ancient Greece was city-states and stuff. So but hey, it's fine. This is it's a historical fantasy, so I can suspend my disbelief easily.
Can we all agree that this is more historically accurate than Braveheart? I just want to get that.
Oh yeah.
Flaccid in the chat.
And Gray has a fantastic. Is this last photo in the new Captain America?
I had to go there.
Yeah, and I know Alasia will really appreciate that. From what I've seen, this is more historically accurate. You know, it's kind of funny. I got into an argument with my mom about this movie because she's like, "There's no way he brought 300 Spartans." And then what happened was I pulled it up. He brought 300 of his guys, and then everyone else was just other Greeks. And they showed this in the movie because he goes, you see, actually, when he points, he goes, "Okay, so what do you do?" "I'm a blacksmith, potter, doctor, whatever." He goes, "Spartans, what do you do?" They'll hold up their spear. And they go, "See, I brought more soldiers than you did."
I didn't know how to write that down, so I just wrote down HUH.
So basically, that was their impersonation of United States Marines, right?
That would be a good depiction. We tend to be made fun of because people will say, like, when the Marines talk, it's just grunts. They just grunt at each other. They don't actually say words. They just go, oh. So
I mean, you are called wouldn't be. So.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So there's a lot of fun to be had with the Marine Corps. But yeah, I mean, look at just like the Punisher logo. Look at all the units that start utilizing the Spartan, that Leonidas helmet as their logo patch or their patch on some of their stuff. So this movie, seriously, I mean, I don't know if it defined a genre because there really wasn't anything after this that was like it, but it defined this film to be one of a kind. So
yeah.
Jared, did you want me to go up next for favorite scenes, or did you want? Okay. So mine is kind of an odd one, but it sticks in my mind every single second of to this day. I still think about it.
He wakes up and the scene is playing in his head.
It really is. It's the last scene it's spoilers, Leonidas' death, and he looks to the goat path that the Persians have now surrounded him with, and they all have their arrows drawn at him, and he just turns his back on Xerxes, knowing that he's made this god bleed, and he just opens his arms up. And who does he call out? He doesn't call out to his god or his men or anything. He just says, "My queen," and he just screams it at the top of his lungs. And then the arrows pour down, and the screen goes black. That whole sequence,
Amazing.
Even beforehand, where he's with his
visual of the arrows coming at him.
Yes, and the very angelic kind of arm spread. Zack Snyder tends to do this a lot. Man of Steel.
He loves that. He loves that Christ
Superman is in the
assuming T-pose.
Well, it made me think of Joker in Batman '89. Remember he did this when Batman was in the fighter plane, the bat plane or whatever you call it.
I want to jump on to Max's comment there, because right before that he curses Ephialtes to live forever.
Yes.
I love that, because for those that don't know, remember in the beginning of the movie it says death on the battlefield is the greatest honor. So basically what Leonidas just told him is he just flipped him the middle finger.
Yeah, you know what it made me think of? Made me think of Klingons.
Ooh.
Oh, how so?
That's how the Klingons are in Star Trek. Best death is warrior's death. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ronald D. Moore and all those TNG writers basically used Spartan history, Spartan military to create the Klingons or create the Klingon culture. So
they definitely did that. There's a lot of alien races from pop culture that definitely took their inspiration from Sparta. The elites from Halo, to a certain extent, maybe the Space Marines from Warhammer Max. If you were a little like me and saw these guys are basically the Spartans.
Yeah, the Space Marines live in a time frame of the 40,000th year of the universe, where everything is war. There is no peace. There are no families. It is literally just all out war. So their plight is just the fact that they wake up every day and just seek to kill. They live in this apocalyptic world. Yeah. Whereas Sparta has something. They have much more to fight for. They have their families and stuff. But I was also going to mention, this is a great scene, but this is I've noticed that all of our scenes have something very interesting in common, and that is Leonidas's choice of words.
Yes.
He is a wordsmith and is able to break others down while building his men up. Like in this scene, I believe there's another line that he says that where Xerxes goes, I would gladly die, or I would gladly kill, 100 of my men, to do this. And Leonidas says, well, I would gladly die for one of mine. Simple little lines like that make all the difference.
And those badass
character.
helmets, by the way, just it just showed up on the screen, so I was like, I love that helmet.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah, Xerxes tried to do that as an intimidation tactic. He's like, you don't want to mess with me. I'm willing to kill my men and stuff. And then of course that's when Leonidas just one ups and says, heck, I'd die for mine. You don't scare me.
It should be a Braveheart stream. It should be. When we do a Braveheart stream, we'll have a Troubled Green on, and she'll spend an hour ranting about the movie.
Let me just drop this in, just to give us a little more of an aperitif here.
You see, slaughtering all those men was
yes, my heart.
just a nasty cramp in my leg, so healing will be hard for me.
Yes.
What a badass!
It's so good. It's
one
so
of my
good.
other favorite lines is when he's talking to the messenger, and the messenger is like, "Well, the Athenians have bowed before us," and he goes, "If those philosophers and boy lovers have that, then why should I do anything?"
Yep.
It's just like, oh, that insult, bro.
It's very reminiscent of it's like this old timey. It's like what they would use as that was pretty much sarcasm, I guess you could call it that. Like the most respectful sarcasm you could think of. But it just reminds me of people that
so it's Canadian sarcasm is what you're talking about.
Oh, is that? Yeah, there you go. Yeah. They have to say thank you afterwards, though.
That's
or I'm sorry. But yeah, it's almost kind of like if someone were to be in an argument and be like, but I'm not a biologist after all, or something like that. It's just the equivalency of, I can't really kneel. I got a bad cramp in my legs.
No.
Yeah, Xerxes wants you to kneel, and Leonidas wants you to stand. And
Yes.
there was one scene I really liked where they bring in, what was his name? The hunchback dude,
Ephialtes.
I love that scene where he's basically trying to say I want to fight with you, I want to die with you. And Leonidas is like, no, you can't even raise your shield arm, and we need you to raise that so you can protect the person right next to you and stuff. We're a single cohesive unit and stuff.
And you saw that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're a cohesive unit and stuff. So for a second, because I haven't watched this movie in over a decade since the movie first came out. So I was like, is he going to come back and help in some way? No, the opposite. He ends up betraying them. Tells Xerxes and the Persians about that goat trail that allows them to flank them and stuff. So, but it was just a very heartbreaking. It was just a heartbreaking scene because I think that character put his entire investment into joining and stuff, and Leonidas had to reject him for good reasons and stuff. I mean, it's kind of like you feel for him, but you also are with Leonidas in his reasoning and stuff. So it's a bit of a heartbreaking situation, and that's one of my favorite scenes.
What's interesting is that you immediately see that Leonidas is right, because when they're in that shield phalanx, they're basically a fortress.
Yeah.
One of my favorite.
Game of Thrones stole a lot of ideas from this movie.
Oh, of course.
The whole kneeler thing, the whole we don't kneel, the wildlings thing, and of course the Battle of the Bastards, where they get to the point where they all doing the covering themselves with the shields and stuff and the pikes and stuff.
I see what you're doing. But one of my favorite scenes, in fact, is after the fight in the shade scene. They're firing arrows, and they're all on there with the shields, and then everyone starts laughing, and they go, "Hey, we told them we'd fight them in the shade."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in a dire situation. You gotta have humor and stuff to cope with it.
I was going to say,
I'm not even military. I've never been. But
I mean, I think anyone knows that there are moments in the military and in any type of scenario where you are in danger, or even in just high stress, scenarios where sometimes you have to laugh or else you'll cry, or sometimes you have to laugh because that fear seeps in, and the only way to be able to cope with that, or not cope, but trying to think of a better word there, would be to laugh. And I can't tell you how many times I laughed in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. Alasia would be on fire.
You would need him. You would need to go, okay, moving on to the next person. But yeah.
So yeah, but
I think she'd probably murder us somehow through the internet.
She would find a way to make her computers explode if we said anything good about Braveheart.
Which I could give her a run for her money, because I really like Braveheart. So she would she would hate me by the end of the stream. But
what we should do from now on is that whenever we're streaming, whenever she's in the chat, we have to make sure to fit in at least 5 compliments to Braveheart per stream, just to mess with her.
Yeah, that would be pretty fun. I think we could do that.
So one of the things that I really loved about this movie too is that how it sort of paralleled the military campaign, but also the political campaign. Because if you notice, back in Sparta, everyone's like, send backup. Everyone's making back alley deals, and I'm like, where have we seen this before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the political aspect of this was really interesting because it never felt like it was needed. Those scenes were needed to kind of break up the violence between the Spartans, of them taking action, of the whole day. That whole first day of bloodshed is just completely, it's just brutal. And then you need kind of a bit of a different tone change to go over to the political side, where you see the woman holding down the fort. Hey,
Gray's here from
Gray.
What's up?
From Las Gachistitos. Well, welcome to Comics League.
Hey, thank you. I'm all the way from the Waffle House in Japan. It's great to be here.
All right.
The Waffle House.
So now that I got you here, what's your favorite scene from 300? Go.
It's the scene that Max always drops on his live streams, that amazing clip, that fight scene with a spear, Gerard Butler going for it. Mate, that is such a great clip. And Eva Green, of course. Is it Eva Green?
Oh, yes.
Oh, she's in the sequel.
She's in the sequel. Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, right.
She's in the not bad, but also not good sequel.
Who's the
But
lady?
she was in the sequel.
The main.
So
the
it goes
first
up.
one?
That's a full point.
I forget who's the one in the actual sequel.
But yeah, the political aspect of it should be familiar because once again, if you're familiar with Game of Thrones, that's Lena Headey who plays Cersei and stuff. And Cersei is pretty much the center of all the political intrigue in King's Landing and Game of Thrones. So, and of course, Game of Thrones itself was based on the old British BBC show I, Claudius, which takes place during the first Roman family. During
Great
the first,
show.
During the first years of the Roman Empire and stuff. So there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that there too. So, but I did love the political angle of it. So apparently they could not go to war because these effers, whatever these leprous wizards that live on top of the mountain that remind me of the Greybeards in Skyrim. These leprous wizards basically, because of law, say, hey, this is August. You can't go to war during this because I forget what the hell is the holiday called. I wrote it down. It's like Cain something. Let's see.
And if I can get these boxes
Carnea. It's called Carnea. And then, of course, we find out that those leprous wizard people are corrupt as hell too. Yeah, there's like there's a creepy little shot where they show the guy paying them off, and then you look at his face, and his eye becomes like I don't know if it's not quite like a cat, but it's like a creepy. It goes into it dips to black, and you just see the eye pupil and stuff. And it looked a little creepy to me.
Then he
I
licks
do
her
have,
face.
I do have that political scene queued up. So there's no music to this, and
this is the strong female character right here, and I mean,
while our husband promotes anarchy and war. Words escape even the most cunning tongue. My little whore queen.
Oh man!
hold on. I will. So we can see what happens.
Yeah. Get the scene.
Oh yeah,
we all want to see it happen. Yeah.
What queen-like behavior? Remove her from this chamber before she infects us further with her inglorious and shabby self.
All right. Do it.
Yeah, just for copyright.
Oh
yeah!
Yes!
Got him. Oh, that face.
I love that face.
Hell yeah!
Hold on.
This will not be over quickly. You will not enjoy this. I am not your queen.
Yes!
And then the payoff.
And she literally repeats what he said to her right before he violates her and stuff.
Yeah.
So
And
this part's just icing on the top. All the Persian coins right there.
Yeah. I gotta give it to that actor because I don't know his name. I don't even know the character's name in the film. But whoever that actor was, holy crap, I hated that guy.
Oh yeah.
And so I gotta give him props. He played that part to a T because you did not like him, and that's what you want any good villain to have. Is you want to not like him, if that makes sense.
It pays off.
Wait a minute.
It pays off when something does happen to him.
Wait a minute. What about having a sympathetic villain who has a backstory that rationalizes why they do what they do? Are you telling me that kind of nonsense doesn't work narratively? I am, of course, kidding.
Being facetious. I know, right? It is. It's almost like everything introduced in this film is counter to what we're seeing in movies right now, and I dare I say, well, I guess Doctor Strange isn't a good example because it's just so convoluted. There is no good guy, bad guy. It's just vomit on a screen.
I enjoyed it, Max. I enjoyed the Sam Raimi moments of the movie.
Stop,
the Sam Raimi moments are really good.
I know. I'm gonna go see it tomorrow just so I can talk to him about the Sam Raimi parts. It'll probably be like 35 seconds in the whole movie, and the rest will be Kevin Feige violating the MCU.
So great. Should I go see the movie?
Depends if you like the character and the comic books and see magical battles on the screen.
And to be fair, Gary, I I am really happy that you liked it though, because like that makes me like super happy when someone enjoys a film. Like that's all I want. So I'm really happy to hear that you enjoyed it though.
I'm happy you're happy, Max. Did you watch it, mate? Sorry, I missed it. Did you watch it too? Yeah. Did you watch it? It's all over the place, and the basic plot is a bit bonkers, but it's just for the Sam Raimi moments, guys. I'm sorry, the horror, the crazy visuals, the psychedelic, trippy scenes.
I haven't watched it yet. Don't be going into spoilers.
No, of course not. Of course not.
No spoilers.
That's Wolverine cameo.
Oh, God, if only. Jeez. I don't even think he could have saved that movie. But
Ben Affleck's Batman turns up, and he, Ben gets kicked in the balls.
No, Ben Affleck Daredevil. Yeah. The Ben Affleck Daredevil shows up.
No, actually, it's a CGI restoration of Adam West's Batman.
Ooh. Well, they... never mind.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be... Yeah. There was I think it was either a scene with Xerxes. Oh, it was what you were talking about, Nerdporial, that I forgot to mention earlier with FALTs, where you notice that Leonidas actually gives him a choice. You know, he says, "We cannot use you on the front lines. I'm so sorry," and gives him the understanding of you have to have your shield, thigh to neck, and that is how we operate. But he does say, if you would like to help, you can clear the bodies off the battlefield, or you can, at least be here to support my men.
Yeah.
He gives him the choice.
He gave him a way in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really the character that I can't think of his name. Alfierites was very, and what he's thinking after that. He's very selfish. He wanted this. He didn't want anything else. He rejected his king, the suggestion of his king, and what would work best for him and stuff, and for them. So yeah. So once again, I'm more of Leonidas, because the fact that he was willing to even bring that up, makes me like him a lot more than the other guy.
It's almost like it was an allegory for the current things we're seeing in entertainment and in culture with the line skipping.
They wouldn't even have like that type of thing in my opinion, in current modern entertainment. They would just make Leonidas out to be the bad guy.
Well, remember, there was a paper, I think, that there was like an article that came out calling this movie Islamophobic or anything like that, because he's in the middle of a war. He's in the middle of a war.
Because it's Iranians hated it because they depicted Persia.
But I'm like, well, first off, you mean it's depicting a historical event?
Yeah.
You notice,
and this was pre-Islam. Like Islam didn't come about for another couple thousand years. So
and what's kind of interesting is that you don't hear Germans getting offended about all the movies we have where we're slaying Germans.
They know it. They checked out. They were like, those aren't. That's not my family.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean. Even you could even say in Gladiator, the first battle sequence in Gladiator is the Roman centurion army against the invading Northmen, or I think it was either supposed to be like Celts or the Danes or something. And I could say, they portrayed my people horribly, but it's like, dude, that is historical evidence of people battling. Countries
Huns around at that time?
Battling each other. Say again?
Weren't the Huns around at that time? Weren't they the invaders?
That's who. Yes, thank you. Yeah. It was the Huns. Yep.
Well, I think that was back to the 13th century or the 14th century, because they were just at the gates of Vienna, and that has happened many times where Vienna was kind of like the last Western stronghold of Western Europe. And my brother lives in Eastern Europe, and there are a lot of monuments there talking about defeating the Turks and the because they were not kind to the Europeans. If we're gonna start calling things out, that's
you can't call that out.
Yeah, I can, and I don't care. But it's like, sorry, history's inconvenient to the victimhood narrative, guys. But
you're talking about you're talking about the Ottomans, right? The Ottoman Empire?
Thanks. Yeah, it was the Ottoman Empire, and if I said the wrong word, if I offended somebody.
I'm sure you guys are all familiar with Vlad the Impaler, how they
that's it.
Yeah, in Romania and stuff, Transylvania.
That's where my brother lives in Romania. I've been to that castle, and it's remarkable. Yeah, he did those things because there was no other way to scare these people off, because they were outnumbered, they were outgunned. The Ottomans had more technology, and sometimes you just have to get medieval, and it worked.
Speaking of medieval, what did you guys think about the body wall that the Spartans
Well, which one? There's the wall with the bricks. They used the bodies as the mortar, and then there was the actual body wall too. So there were two of them. They were awesome, dude. That's a great way. That's a great way to if you want to demoralize your enemy, you do that. The work will pay off.
because the first one was just to redirect them. The first one wasn't even as a means of weaponry. It was more of almost like a defense, or even like a sliding movement, so that that wall could kind of funnel them into the hot gates. So that first wall was just them having fun. The second wall was really when they utilized it as almost like a tactic to try, almost like a surprise.
Diversion.
Tactic. Yeah. Yes. So, both were just so well done.
I got a question. Why did they call those troops in particular immortals?
That was a class. It was a class of warriors within the Persian army, and later there were the Janissaries that were used after the Crusades, which were horrifying. What I've always wondered was there a reason why the immortals were scarred they were? And I don't know if we have anybody who has that historical perspective, if that was a narrative or creative decision that Zack Snyder made, or if they scarred themselves the way that they did, like in the real life. I've got that scene queued up, by the way, Jared, if you want to take my...
Sure.
Okay. So I will start it, and where it's relevant, start the audio. Mm-hmm. There's the immortals.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh!
They will put that name to the test.
So was that supposed to be the leader?
Don't want to get claimed.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah, good scene. Good scene, guys.
Wow, that's awesome.
As are most scenes from that movie. But yeah, I love that, and I love where I love the, like, what's the word? The narration saying, immortals, we put that name to the test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So was that supposed to be the leader that they threw the bodies on top of, that crushed that guy, or was that guy just...
I guess it couldn't be,
just
because they were all kind of dressed the same.
So with the immortals, the deal was that the scarring thing, I think, is just narratively for the movie, but there was always 10,000 of them at all times. So there'd be 10,000, and then if 1,000 died, they'd replace them with 1,000. So there was always 10,000 immortals, and so quote unquote immortals, because there were, once you join, you're there till you die.
That's cool. I thought it was kind of an interesting, and this isn't necessarily a great scene or anything, but I just found it interesting, especially in today's day and age, where you have FARTs going to, because like we said earlier, he kind of betrays Leonidas there, and he goes to Xerxes to finally get what he's been promised. He wants the uniform, he wants the money, he wants the women, he wants the power, he wants all of that, which are these worldly things, right? And he walks into this like weird tent of like all these like goat-headed people that, and it's just like this like
temptation,
acid trip. Yeah, temptation, this acid trip of a room. And I go, man, this, I don't know if there is any symbolism behind here, but if you wanted to find it, you could find it. There.
It made me think of, it made me think of, obviously, if you want to go symbolism, it made me think of, Christ in the desert, where he's tempted by the devil himself.
Yep.
There's that.
There it is.
And then, of course, if you want to go a little bit more modern, Star Wars. Being tempted by the dark side of the Persian.
Yeah, exactly. The dark side of Persian. That's great.
Yeah, man. So that scene, I thought, though, it's not very memorable. It's just kind of put in there just to show that, hey, here's the betrayal scene. This is him kneeling to Xerxes.
They do purple.
So do you think they could have did without that scene, and it would have shocked the audience? When we see him showing the Persians, the goat trail and all that.
I think we would have. It definitely would have been more of a shock, like you said, Nerdporial, because then once he emerges from the crowd and Leonidas sees him and goes, "Oh, you're the one."
Yeah.
That could have been shock value, but I think it was meant to be put in there just to show how manipulative Xerxes was. And
Oh,
to
yeah.
kind of
Oh yeah.
add
Basically
to
the
that
emperor.
because. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because I think that's where that line comes from that you said earlier, where he says, Leonidas demands that you stand, and I demand, or I just only require that you kneel. I'm a very just
Kind.
God, or he's
I'm a very
kind
kind.
God. Yeah. So sleazy,
Yes,
and
yes.
yeah, and
It's
so
great.
for that reason, I don't think I would have gotten rid of it. But you're right. I do think it could have been a cool reveal that it was him all along. Phartes betrayed Leonidas, but yeah.
So, my
Ta-
question.
take my screen real quick. Take my screen because it'll
I got it, it's
reinforce
up
what
there.
Max said. You ready?
Yeah.
Lord of all Greece, your Athenian rivals will kneel at your feet, if you will but kneel at mine.
You are generous. As you are divine, O King of Kings.
That is something else right there in stature,
Is he supposed to be like 8 feet tall or something?
and when he spoke, his voice was obviously modulated in a way to give it divinity, to give it demigod power like. So I think it just reinforces what you guys were saying. How could a mere mortal resist this huge godlike figure who could give them anything if only you submit? It's an amazing allegory, and it also reinforces not just the physical strength of Laertes, but also his morality and also his drive to be a king.
Yeah, so his last, Leonidas' last act before he dies is to basically show everybody that this god can bleed and stuff. And he throws the spear and it knocks his frickin' the earring off of his lip and there's blood and stuff. So he bleeds and stuff. So that kind of kills the whole god king concept right there. And and Leonidas was willing to die for that. So I did have a question though. Maybe you can answer this, Max. One thing he does say to that Phartes guy, Leonidas, when they get betrayed and stuff, he's like, "I hope you live a long time." Was that like I wasn't sure if he was saying I hope you live with this, or is it I just hope you get through this? I wasn't sure what he was going at.
He cursed him to live forever because
okay.
to die in battle is the goal of the Spartans, right? And
Yes.
he's not a Spartan, so he should live forever with this. And you could see the actor, even with the makeup and stuff on, he did a good job of his whole face and body slouched and slumped, and you could really read it too. Yeah, it hit him hard.
I honestly thought that was Rorschach, the actor that plays Rorschach in the Watchmen movie, but I don't think I looked it up and it wasn't him; it was someone else.
Oh wow!
But okay, thanks, Zach. You're awesome, Zach. Thanks for answering my question. I want your autograph now.
I mean, to be fair, we all want his. Well, we want a face reveal, and then we want an autograph, but we won't get either of those.
I'm gonna do a face reveal at my 500 celebration stream.
Awesome. That'll
You
probably
heard it
be
here
one-
first, folks.
Yeah, he'll probably be at 1,000 by the time we get it coordinated, but he will do a 500.
Could be. It could be. Hopefully, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But then, no, you put it even better than I could have, because I was just gonna say, yeah, he just wanted him to live with the shame and the guilt of killing all these men.
Yeah.
But you're right, Zach. It's much more than just that. It's the fact that the whole premise of the Spartan warriors is they knew that they were going to die for a cause. That was most important to them. They didn't need to live forever, and so the fact that he cursed him in lieu of that was just even more demeaning. But he says it in a very kind, almost like comforting way. It's odd because
Yeah,
he
that's
could
why
have
I
been
was
like
confused.
he could have been like, "Oh, you son of a, whatever."
Yeah.
But instead, like I said, like we were talking about earlier, Leonidas has a way with words, and he just points, with his spear, and he goes, "You there."
He would never survive a new Star Trek show. Like he
No.
doesn't cry, he doesn't get overly emotional. He maintains
Yes,
his composure like a Starfleet captain, like a Kirk or a Picard or a Cisco. So,
As they should.
yeah,
As they
Yeah.
should.
you're a leader. You have to lead. You have to inspire confidence. and stuff.
Part of the reason I think that he said it that way was there was almost pity because this creature, you know, was so misguided and had no idea the damage it was not only doing to his country but also how ultimately it would destroy him, you know, by having this illusion of having this power that in this prestige that, you know, he first of all wasn't physically capable of achieving, but also knowing that he would realize what he did in his betrayal and that he would have to live with that. I think that's part of what is in the tone of the way he says it to them.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
Dude, great point. That's really excellent. That's an excellent way of looking at it. Because he does probably pity him.
Yeah.
And what's the Spartan motto is come back with your shield or on it.
Yep.
And the thing was that guy didn't want them to die. He's like, he literally says, he comes up to the front and he says, please surrender, you know, don't go through this. And of course, Leonidas is gonna be like, no, this is our shtick. This is what we do. This is what we live for. And you're not taking that away from
the funny
us.
history part of it is that the Persians, Xerxes and Darius, were actually pretty reasonable conquerors as conquerors went, and they would kind of leave you alone as long as you paid whatever their money was. They'd let you leave.
You know, they're both in the Old Testament too. You know, Xerxes is the king in the book of Esther. And Darius is the king in the book of Daniel.
Yep.
I remember this because I went to Lutheran school.
You're dropping the knowledge there.
Yeah, there you go.
That's amazing, man.
This is Friday night Bible study, everybody. Turn your books to Leviticus 31 chapter.
Leviticus is boring. It's all law.
I know.
That's
why I said it. I know.
It's all law.
I know.
So for accuracy's sake, like that was the kind of offer that he would have made.
Interesting.
You be my war master or whatever, and I'll leave you alone.
Yeah.
What you guys have brought up to a lot in this, and what I tend to see in this film, much more than some of the films that we're seeing now, is there is just the film at face value, but then the film on a deeper level that you can actually pull from, like the subtext of it, right? Because like we were talking about before, at face value, Leonidas, you could just say, yep, he's kind of giving it to Xerxes, or he's kind of giving Xerxes the middle finger. But there's so much more to the lines. You can take so much more from this, you know, especially in that scene where we were talking about FARTs going through that temptation room of temptation. There is so much, I guess. What was the word that you used, Salty? Do you remember what I was trying to, I guess, reiterate? But it's essentially
No, go ahead. Use a synonym, and I'll play thesaurus.
Yeah, right. I think I was just going to say subtext, because.
Yeah. I mean, it was the allegory was there. I mean,
allegory.
And not only that, but it was this bitter. I really do believe this, that he looked at him, and even though that this poor creature betrayed them, and this creature should have died. We all know what happens to the unfit in the Spartan world. Somehow this creature survived, and God knows how that. Let's just say with those issues, I guess that's the way we have to talk now. And to come back in this creature, this half man's whatever it is, heart was in the right place, but it didn't have the faculties to understand what it was doing, and it's like it is man, that betrayal is so hurtful, because the men who did the right thing, who sacrificed, who followed the rules, who fought, are betrayed by this aberration who had no idea what it was doing by destroying what made its society and country what it was. Anybody else see anything that might be parallel to that maybe right now? I'll stop talking.
And that's kind of where I was going, is that, you know, it was the allegory that you can apply if you want to. And that's the thing, is like, films don't need to push an allegory. You can come up with an allegory for yourself if you want to go to that extent with a film.
And that's even what Snyder himself has said. He said, hey, listen, guys, you can take a political message from my films if you want. I'm not intentionally putting them in there.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing. And that's also the very talented thing about writers, is that they can write a story and have it be for everyone. And yet, if you want to take a more intellectual stance or want to kind of see if there is an allegory behind what the actual story is, you can do that because the writer has put so much depth into this that it is much more than just whatever it is at face value.
Didn't Tom Shippey say there was a thing that had depth? Oh yeah, it's called Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and you can.
What made it different? Depth.
Yeah,
it was depth.
Well, and you can find whatever you want in it. I mean, Christopher Tolkien said that it is not an allegory. The only thing that was there was the machine, and the machine represented the modern world, not just the machine, but the corruption of being human in nature. And but again, it's to me, it's the same thing. It's like if you've wrote it so well that anybody from any walk of life can relate to it, then of course you're going to bring your experience to it, unlike Star Trek, Doctor Who, Star Wars, Marvel.
Yeah.
I mean, old Star Trek did allegories really well.
Yes,
That's
it did.
why people on both sides of the political aisle liked Star Trek. I knew people, like I said before, I knew people I went to church with who were conservative that loved TNG.
Yeah.
It was there was a human element that made it relatable on both sides.
It didn't tell you.
It's like Hamilton the musical.
Yeah. It didn't tell you what to think and give you the answer. It
gave you food for thought.
It let you think and figure it out on your own, which apparently we can't do anymore. So
it poses questions that are not easy to answer.
No.
And it did that theologically, philosophically. Like that's why Star Trek was so great. It didn't need lightsabers or pew guns or anything.
Or that's modern Trek now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Fake Trek.
And people. Yeah, and like you said, people, their emotions getting the best of them, and just it's like no. Star Trek was so nuanced, and it was like I said, it was theological, philosophical, it posed a question. That's why people loved it, because it was so much more than just pew pews and lightsabers. Which hey, I love Star Wars as much as the next guy, but Star Trek really had something going for it.
They copied Game of Thrones too, modern new Trek. So
yeah. I mean,
Moon
that's what
Door.
they're going to try and copy, or Rings of Power is going to try and copy Game of Thrones.
You know what? Actually, I thought didn't look bad at all. I don't know if you guys agree with me. I thought House of the Dragon did not look bad at all, and I'm kind of interested.
That was my. Oh, really?
I haven't seen the latest trailer yet, so I don't know.
And I hated season 8. Season 8 was like such a letdown.
Yeah.
Zax, could we allow Zax the floor? Can we allow Zax the floor for 10 seconds? Zax,
Sure,
you want to
ahead.
give your take, please?
Yeah. So, Jared, you like that trailer?
I haven't seen it because I'm not a Game of Thrones person.
Okay.
Oh, I think Nerdporial was the one.
Nerdporial liked it. Yeah. Okay.
It had the right mood and stuff.
It had they'd rather put the kingdom to the torch than let a woman sit the Iron Throne, which is not at all true.
I heard
not
that.
at all. Not at all in the story at all.
That sounds BS.
And it wasn't in Fire and Blood?
The conflict was the princess versus the queen. That was the conflict. So it's because the princess, Rhaenyra's mother, died. He remarried, Viserys remarried to this other woman who had her sons. And so there were the two factions at court, the princess's faction and the queen's faction. It wasn't boys versus girls. Like that world, the story is not that simple. It wasn't misogyny. It was factional. They took advantage of the fact that Rhaenyra got pregnant and went to Dragonstone to have a baby, and her father died while she was away. So they installed one of the sons as king while she was gone.
So this is not the Dance of the Dragons. This is something else. This is a different.
No, this leads into Dance of Dragons.
It does? Okay.
Yeah, that's what causes it. Yeah.
That can't be. I'm going to pull a salty here and be facetious, but that can't be right. It's obviously
salty, facetious.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's obviously the patriarchy. Zach.
Obviously,
they just hate women. That's all. Yeah, clearly.
Come on.
Are you a biologist? Are you sure? Are you sure we're talking about? Yeah.
So what I'll say though is maybe she's being manipulated because that's part of the stories, and that's not really what's happening, but that's what she's being told. Or maybe they're just going to go for the 2022 doctrine. I don't know, but
I don't know.
It's a much more complex and layered and nuanced system on Game of Thrones. That's why it works so well. Is there's layers upon layers. It's not girls bad.
Yeah. And I was happy that they didn't they didn't have the people of Westeros looked like people of Westeros and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the exception of Corlys Valerian, who is clearly, I mean, they're Valerians and stuff, but they made him.
I don't know what they're going to do about that one.
Yeah. Can I ask a quick?
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Salty.
sorry.
Speaking of the patriarchy and taking advantage of women, Jared, is it possible to share my screen? This is going back to Lena Headey, one of the stars in here.
Oh.
A very early movie she was in, and really recommend from me. It's a great movie. It's called Waterland from 1992, I think, and I think she was only 18 or 19 in that movie. Let me just say, guys, you've got to watch it. That's all I'm saying.
As long as it's not explicit, that's fine.
No, it's fine. It's very safe. It's just some photos of.
I was 22. I remember those days very well.
Oh wow!
Look how young she's there. She's either 18 or 19 when they were shooting it. She was born the same year as me, so she's 1973 when she was born.
Wow!
So she's going to be 50 next year. Amazing.
It happens.
That means
you can't stop it.
Wow.
But she's great in this movie, Jared, and she's great in that movie. Well, she's been great in so many things.
What's it about? What's Waterland about? Is it like a drama?
It's like it's a writer going back about his kind of memoirs, looking back to his past, and that's when you see her when he's remembering his younger times when in this beautiful nature area in like Great Britain, the Waterlands.
Thank you for that recommendation. Yeah, she looks great in that. She like her performance reminded me so much of the female in Gladiator, and I don't remember her name.
What's his name's wife?
Maximus's, or because there was also it was Caesar's sister.
Oh, okay.
And but she kind of loved. She had this romantic relationship with Maximus because she saw how tortured he was. She saw how Caesar was, keeping him as this slave, this gladiator. And I believe at one point she even, helps him escape and everything. So I think it was her that reminded me of, because we don't actually see a lot of Maximus's wife, unfortunately, because she gets the right at the beginning of the film.
Yep.
So
take my screen, and it's always pictures worth 1,000 words.
Oh, wow.
Okay, that's her.
Well, that's the. I think that's Maximus's wife, I believe.
Wife. Yeah. Who was I looking for?
I think there's
the sister of Caesar.
Yes.
Oh. All right.
What's his name? I can't think. Joker. Joaquin Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Because that's her. Because she also has a pretty significant role in this. She has a lot of and they look fairly similar.
Leslie Livingston is her name.
Yeah. There she is.
Did you say Joaquin Phoenix, or was it Wakizashi Phoenix? Couldn't quite tell.
Hey, I
Gray,
said so earlier.
I got something in my eye. Can you help me get it out there, buddy?
Dude, look at these costumes too.
I know.
Oh yes, that's the one thing I will say about the Thor trailer that looked great is the cape that he has that has the fur on it.
The early costume, Jared, where he's running through the forest training when he's young. You see, see the comic costume.
It's the classic Thor.
It's like the 1980s, like yellow boots, that are all wrapped up and everything. And
Zax and Salty, let's say it together. Nerds!
Nerds.
That's me.
Bunch of nerds.
Nerdporeal.
Yeah, beautiful. That looks
Made me think of Jon Snow wearing all the furs in Game of Thrones. King of the North.
You think Pete is going to lose it over Thor 4 because that movie's cursed? I guess that's the other shoe to drop,
Hey, Jared, if you can mod Lord Thoth, he'll take care of the bots for you.
I did.
Cool.
Okay.
Nice one.
It's because Zax is here.
Yeah, of course it comes with the Canadians. I think it's either the Canadians or the Marines, because I noticed that whenever I do a live show with Max, they always come out in force.
No, I think it was me. I'm really sorry. Al Dan was saying, and shout out to Al Dan, he was here before. Al Dan was saying, Gray, the sex bots appeared after you left your first comment. After you commented, it's like, no, I'm sorry.
The bots are made in Japan.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly.
go through the entire chat and remove all of them, all the ones I couldn't remove. So anyway, going back to 300 now, so someone actually put in a comment that I wanted to address here that must have gotten put up here. Let me see. It was a question like, if this were released now, 300, do you think it would be as popular? We kind of touched on that, but
if it was released now, it'd be completely different. It would not have Leonidas as a very stable leader and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It would they would take every opportunity to
He'd be a toxic
humiliate
male.
him.
Yeah, it would be a matriarchy. It would be a matriarchy.
Yeah. And then we'd also play historical inaccuracy.
Yeah, and Lena Headey's character would be completely insufferable, completely unrelatable, and would just everything. They would that senator guy, what was his name, Theron or something. He would just be like, okay. She would be like, please let me, please get me the votes I need. He'd be like, okay, you're the bestest ever.
Yeah,
that's what he'd say.
Well, even more so, she probably wouldn't even be at still in Sparta, because she would have told Leonidas, I'm coming with you.
Oh,
or
yeah.
she would have made sure
she would have killed Xerxes. She would have killed Xerxes.
Well, if she threw the spear, she would have actually killed him.
True.
But Leonidas tries and he misses.
Yeah.
Her line tells you everything you need to know about her character. About come back come back with your shield or on it. That is the strength of the Spartan women. Is that when the men are gone, they can take care of their own. They can take care of the homeland. And that's what we need. And even Leonidas, I think, at one point says Sparta will need sons. And he knows that the women of Sparta will be able to do that. Birthing people will be able to do that.
What was that? What did you just say?
But that's how Sparta was. Like, the men were expected to go. If they were weak as an infant, they'd be discarded, left on the hillside.
This movie does not exactly touch on it, but I've done some reading, and it turns out that if a threat was too big for the army, in other words, if the army went out and got wiped out, the women were actually trained for combat, so there'd be the last line of defense.
Hence why it says you don't know our women.
Exactly, and that's why in 302, that's my own title for it. At the end of it, she shows up with the army.
Oh, does she really?
Yeah, she does.
Oh, wow! I didn't even see that film then. Wow.
But what I loved about her character was, she really basically, the reason why he even decides to take 300 men to go and funnel the Persians is because he's having a dilemma. So he went to see these ugly creepy wizard priest things that have oracles, which are basically sexy, really young girls that are high on drugs and stuff, and they say stuff. And hence that's how they make their decision. So they're like, no, you can't do this. And so Lena Headey, what's her name, Queen Gargo or something?
Queen Gorgo.
She's basically like, if you can't do it, because if it's against the law, like, what does the man say? She basically says, what would you as a man do and stuff? And then, of course,
what would a
off
free
the
man do?
off of the unofficially, he's going for a walk. So basically, that march with 300 men, he said to the politician, he's like, I'm going for a walk. I need 300 bodyguards. They're like, are you sure you're not going to? No. Why would you think that? So, but yeah, that's her character's the reason why Sparta fought. And like you said, he looked at her right before he kicked, where he drop kicked that guy into the well. So, which was awesome.
Was there any ladies kicking men in the balls in this movie? I don't think there was there?
No.
Seems to be in bloody everything these days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The only one.
There's no bait and switch. It wasn't a movie about all Queen Gorgo, because we all know for some reason Hollywood likes to do that.
That's exactly what they do. You'd think it'd be about Leonidas, but Leonidas would be pushed aside in his own movie.
He showed
But if it was about her, they would win.
Exactly. It would be just her. It'd be a line of no. What would happen is that at that last battle where it looks like the Spartans are going to get wiped out, all the women show up.
Yes.
Just like in Endgame, like that,
Yeah,
that shot of them in
yeah.
Endgame all charging and
I'm
stuff.
like, what? How does this work?
They've never been trained before, but they're all already better than all the Spartan warriors that have been training their entire life.
Well, just
because they watched them.
Yeah, Max. Imagine if they had been trained. If those stupid men had just let those women be in charge, none of it would have happened in the first place, right?
On that note, Salty, on the note of stupid men, I've just got to say, guys, thank you so much for having me, but I've got to drop out. It's great to talk.
brother.
Great
Have a
panel.
good one.
You take care, and I'll see you soon. Yeah.
It's nothing I said, right, Gray?
Hi, Gray.
Matane. Bye bye.
Matane.
Sayonara.
I have to split too, you guys. This is
All
my
right.
third stream of the night. Jared, I have had such a great time. Thank you for
Anytime, brother.
Thank you for the invite, Max. It's always great to see you. Nerdporial, it's always wonderful to work with you, brother. And of course, my Canadian brother from another Zack's. It's always great. You guys continue having a great show. Thanks. This was a lot of fun. See you guys.
All work and no play
Great
makes
to see you,
Salty a
Salty.
dull boy.
Good night, Salty.
Later, brother.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. So now the other place I actually want to talk to you about this not specifically. So in terms of like, because this movie has also been hailed by by the military community as well, and I wanted to like basically get like your take on that.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. And thank you for asking, because that was actually going to be kind of my final thoughts, my summary of the film, was that I think what this did for a lot of military guys, whether they're active, whether they're reserve, whether they're retired or veterans or anything, or even just guys like contractors and stuff, like civilian contractors. The camaraderie here between the Spartans is like none other that you see within the civilian world, and it's just this this next level of brotherhood that these guys show, and even at the final battle where they all have arrows sticking out of them, and they've completely they know they've lost, but they know that they've given their lives to this just cause.
And the king says to the subordinate, "It's my honor to have lived alongside you."
And that's the big key moment. Like for me, that is what you want to hear from your leader, and vice versa. As someone who is being led, to say it was an honor to fight alongside you, and then for your leader to echo the same sentiment, to clasp hands in battle. That's there's nothing more honorable and noble about that. And it's also a scary thought, to die for a cause that you don't really know if it's going to come to fruition. You can only hope, because at that point in time, they hadn't come to a decision whether they were going to get reinforcements or not. So these guys were just hoping that free men would stand against a tyrant. Which is what Leonidas says. So
yeah, that part moved me when he said that. Like when he said it was my honor to fight alongside you and stuff. Yeah. So I totally agree, man.
Max, did you grease each other up, or did you is there a chain of command for who greases who? How does that work?
Wait a second. This movie began Max's fascination with silkies, because they're all wearing silkies.
They all have silkies on, guys. Jared, how did you stole my secret, dude? I was like, wait
a second. This is why Max loves this movie. So this is why he thinks it's the best Zack Snyder movie. All of it is silkies.
Dude, you called my bluff, man. Gosh dang.
And you notice all the bad guys are the ones not in silkies.
They all have clothes on. Yeah, exactly. Zach's the officers tend to grease the other officers up, and all the enlisted guys grease the enlisted guys. I was trying to think of something that isn't that's PG, but
okay.
You can't do it. No.
Much appreciated.
But yeah, it's definitely for military guys though. This is the homoeroticism, I guess, is very fun, because technically I don't even back in that time I don't even think Spartans wore anything. I think they had their shields and their spears and their helmets.
They didn't. If you look at the statues, they clearly didn't.
Exactly. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that. It's all in good fun though.
What's interesting is that if you look at like like 300, and I watch a lot of stuff about special operations guys like SEALs, Green Berets, and all that stuff. The camaraderie is the exact same. I'm like, okay, it's like that one part where like there's two Spartans are fighting back to back, and then that one guy turns to him and goes, "Are you still here? Well, someone's got to watch your back."
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of how guys tend to be very. They grind each other's gears, man. You know, they give each other a hard time. They joke with each other, and that's kind of their way of showing affection. But there's also sincere moments, you know, like when the general has lost his son. Leonidas comes up to him, looks him straight in the eyes like a freaking man, and he just goes, "My heart." What is it like? My heart breaks for your loss, or something. Just a moment between two grown men that needs to happen at points in time, where a lot of the time there's a lot of jokes, there's fun, there's good-natured ripping, you know. But at that moment, there are times where you kind of have to take the rank off, the uniform off, and you got to come to a man to man.
Yeah, it's like the worst thing that any adult, any parent. I mean, I'm not a parent myself, but a lot of my friends are parents and stuff, and that's the thing that once they became a parent, that's the thing that they continually worry about is their kids and stuff. And when they lose a kid, when an adult loses their kid, it's I think it's the worst thing in the world. It's probably one of the worst things in the world to experience.
And then to watch it, you know, right in front of you.
So yeah, that really moved me, that part and stuff. And he was screaming and stuff.
Yeah.
And he turned, and then the way he fought to the bitter end was such an amazing thing. It made me think of Boromir, but with way more weight than Boromir and stuff. So
because he had that bloodlust. You know, he was just anything and everything that was in his way, he was just slashing through.
Yeah, I think he just wanted to die, and he was in such pain. You're in such pain when you lose somebody that you just feel like you need to do something. And in this case, he wanted to kill as many Persians as he could. Because I don't know if he wanted to live. I don't think he wanted to live long after his son and stuff. It's kind of messed up, but that's how I interpret it.
No, absolutely.
And it was amazing. It was such a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Now, Jared, was this your first Zack Snyder film that you
Yeah,
watched?
it was.
Okay.
It was the first one I watched, and it was the movie I watched not knowing it was a Zack Snyder film.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I was like, wait a second, this is the dude that did Man of Steel?
Yeah. Which came before? Was it Man of Steel or was it?
No, this came out before. Man of Steel wasn't until 2013, I think.
Yeah, 2013.
This was 2007 or 2006 and stuff. So.
Yeah.
Once again, what Snyder was able to do for special effects in 2007, because I see a lot of movies done by like big studios, and I'm like, really?
Dude, Moon Knight.
I just loved back in that time, that decade, 2000s. I loved the comic book movies, the comic book or graphic novel adapted movies and stuff. You had V for Vendetta, Alan Moore, also Alan Moore, Watchmen.
Watchmen, yes.
And of course you have this, and then you have Sin City by Frank Miller. So.
And you have like Dark Knight, Batman Begins. It was like a golden age
earlier Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
stuff.
It was like a golden age for geekdom. Now,
kind of good adaptation.
Really,
yeah.
Now there's no incentive to be a geek because they hate nerds now. And
well, there is because you can because it's a comic book a guy that covers a lot of comic book content. The thing that I've always done is I don't really indulge in the new stuff for obvious reasons, but luckily there's like 70 plus years of comic books, so it's not like I'm gonna be able to read everything anytime soon.
I mean, Zax, you took the bullet on reviewing Moon Knight there, eh? I saw your video today, and I was like, I can't even. I'm thankful that I can watch your review, but dude, I mean, that's all I can take. I was confused the whole time. I had no idea what was going on.
Well, that's my watching the entire series though, because it's like I'm like, the heck am I watching?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Moon Knight because Moon Knight wasn't in most of it.
Yeah, I saw it. It's right. Like the suit was barely in it, and now again I haven't seen the last episode, but I'm like,
oh,
aren't you supposed to be? This is supposed to be Moon Knight. He was in the trailers.
I was only surprised by. I thought that they were going to have her be Moon Knight, and they gave her. She got powers, but they weren't that one. They weren't those ones. But she, of course, saved the day.
I saw on Twitter. The girl always has to save the day, and that's the other thing too. The other problem that Hollywood has nowadays is that the hero of the movie, the protagonist, if you will, is constantly in need of saving.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing too is like you guys both said, Moon Knight's hardly in this thing. But if you watch 300, 90% of this film is Leonidas. You know what I mean? Like
it's like if you're watching
always...
it's like watching a Man of Steel film that's titled Man of Steel, and it's just about Lois Lane.
Yeah. Because exactly, I was gonna say Supergirl, but no, they wouldn't even do Supergirl. They'd do Lois Lane or Lana Lang. They wouldn't even do Lois. They would do Lana.
Yeah, it'd be like her going through her daily life, or it's like it's like a movie, Batman, Barbara Gordon.
Yeah, well,
I guarantee you.
One, yeah.
Well, yeah. And if there were a female Flash, they would the Flash movie would be about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That pretty much summarizes it. But it's like I was reading a review once of like I think it was Justice League, and they were talking about it's so horrible that Wonder Woman is made to be like it needs men to save her, and I'm like, so do the men. I'm like, you obviously didn't look at the marketing campaign for the movie. It says you can't save the world alone. Now, granted, I am not one to defend Justice League, but that's one piece of criticism I saw that I'm like, wait a second here.
Yeah, I don't think they did. I mean, even in that first Wonder Woman film, the first Patty Jenkins one that she did, they got like this super high praise that kind of put what's his name? The Marvel guy who has Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, now Kevin Feige Productions. Patty Jenkins put Kevin Feige in a high gear as far as like, we need to escalate Marvel into this female movement now because
Black
DC,
Widow.
Yeah, like they feel like they were at a loss because Wonder Woman did so well. So I couldn't imagine DC fans complaining, but because they had essentially done the first film.
Here's the thing.
That was like,
Here's the difference. Wonder Woman 1 did not make the men useless characters. Compare that to a movie like Captain Marvel, where you could have eliminated Nick Fury. I could be I'll put you in there, watch it. But the point is that it's like you could eliminate Samuel Jackson from that movie. Please don't, because he's fantastic. But it's like you could take him out of the movie, and then guess what? Nothing changes. Literally nothing except who they constantly make fun of.
Speaking of what we were talking about earlier about guys getting hit in the balls, I think there's a deleted scene in Captain Marvel where she kicks a guy in the balls and steals his motorcycle. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All they show is him is them having a stare off, and then she's off with the motorcycle, and then it cuts. So I'm like, oh, okay, so there actually is a deleted scene.
Yeah, it's pretty. The deleted scene is pretty pathetic because it's exactly what you think it is. There's just
yeah. What's interesting is that I was actually having an argument with someone about it, and I was thinking about how like what's your least favorite movie, and I said Captain Marvel, and she said, oh, why? Because it makes the men characters out to be jokes, and she encounters no challenges, and then their counter was, well, she's a woman in America. That's a challenge. And I'm like, end conversation. No, but I'm like, when you have a character that's a superhero, first off, that has godlike powers, for some reason, you can't use that excuse on here.
Yeah, I mean, if you have this, like, almost power cosmic where she can literally defeat Thanos by herself, which is, I don't necessarily, hold that opinion, but a lot of Marvel stans do, that she could probably take on Thanos by herself. If that's how powerful she is and she gets to be on Earth, I mean, it would be the same. It would be like if they were saying, well, it's pretty hard for Superman to be be a white guy in America. It's like he's Superman.
He's
You know,
Superman.
like maybe his social, maybe his social cues, because he is an alien, that might be kind of difficult. So
Yeah.
show that struggle between him and learning the culture of being here on America. Show his struggle of what it means to be human. And they've done that in a lot of Superman comics, but they
Man
won't
of
show that
Steel.
struggle. Right. Yeah.
He tried to, and everyone got pissed off about it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate because it actually is to the detriment of female characters.
Oh, yeah.
And they are not written with any faults or any plight or anything.
Contrast
Star
from
Wars.
Yes, Star
Yeah.
Wars. Oh yeah, Star Wars.
I did not-
Where they make
once
a
I
Rey
saw-
Skywalker for no reason.
Like going back as early as Force Awakens,
Yeah.
the moment she beat Kylo Ren at the end of the movie, I was like, this would not happen.
I will say, I did like a lot in the following movie. This was the one good part of The Last Jedi, when Snoke goes to Kylo Ren. He goes, "And you got beaten by someone who has never carried a lightsaber? Are you kidding me?" That was good. I was like, okay, I'll give you that one thing.
The problem is the writing rules with female characters now. Actually, they don't just ruin those characters, but they do ruin those characters. They also ruin the storytelling or any tension, or like, because you understand the structure they now have to follow is they can't make a mistake, they can't lose a fight to a man, and they can't even really be endangered by a man. So you can look at the rest of the movie laid out and know exactly what's going to happen. And
they have
Falcon
humor
the Winter
at very-
Soldier.
Yeah. They
Perfect
have humor at
example,
very
right?
Inappropriate. They have humor at very inappropriate moments too.
Oh
a
well,
lot
there's
of the
that
time.
too. Yeah.
That's just the MCU in general.
Well, they did that
But
with
yeah,
Last
you're-
Jedi too. They turned
Oh, yeah.
Hux into a complete buffoon. He was
Oh, and
originally
remember-
Tarkin in Force
Yeah.
Awakens. He was like Tarkin, but then they turned him into a buffoon in Last
And
Jedi.
let's not forget that what they did to like characters like Poe Dameron, because it's like he got denigrated by the general, who ironically enough had pink hair, but that's besides the point. But and also I love how Disney is always calling out people for racism, but I'm like, wait a second, you in the China poster for The Force Awakens, you like made all the black characters really small.
Yeah, they shrunk Finn on the poster, and then they put Black Panther's helmet on him on the Black Panther poster.
Yeah.
So,
I'm like, wait a
they
second
couldn't see his
here,
face.
guys.
Yeah.
Like, wait.
Yeah, if you guys want a great depiction of that, watch. There's a 2.5 hour long video out there right now that's like almost kind of like a Mahler breakdown of a film, and it's about the 2019 Lion King that Disney did. Man, is that a piece of garbage! And a lot of it is just a virtue signal. Yeah, it is brilliant. It is a really great video. I've watched it like 5 times now. It's unbelievably well done, and he calls out everything. I mean, everything, all the hypocrisies, all the nuances that Disney like didn't pay for or cut costs on, or we're just lazy about. It is so well done, and it can be applied to honestly anything probably after 2015, 2016. We want to say that. But yeah, so that's another great one. I think we were talking about the fight between, in Star Wars. You guys also want another good video. Shadiversity did a hour-long breakdown of the fight between Rey and Kylo on the Death Star, right? Is that the last one?
It was on their version of the Death
supremacy.
Star.
Yeah, that's what it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
And he was probably 30 minutes in, and he's like, there has not been one move that was not aimed at the attacker. It was always aimed at the lightsaber or the space that was like not there. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So he does an amazing breakdown of that as well.
Mm-hmm. But it was really ridiculous, and I don't get why you have to like denigrate one side to bring up the other. I understand that you want to have strong female characters. We're all in favor of it. Hell, my third favorite superhero is Wonder Woman. But the thing is that you have to do it right. And again, I hold up the first Wonder Woman movie because somehow because that movie came out post 2016, and I have historically said that 2016 is when entertainment started to go downhill. But when you look at like a movie that came out in post 2016, it didn't do that. Both sides were useful. In other words, if Wonder Woman didn't have Steve Trevor and the guys, she would not have been able to find Ares. They still needed each other, and that's really the key point here. Contrast that to 84, when Steve Trevor's made a joke, the men are thrown around like jokes, and I'm like, I'm not liking. Besides the fact that the
they
plot
violate
was
a guy,
and that too. I'm like, wait a second. I'm like, where's the Me Too crowd on this? And they did go after the movie, by the way. They did. It was very entertaining on Twitter. I'm like, now it's going after people. Yay!
Wow. Gosh, yeah, what a nightmare.
And then I actually contrast that, going back to Zack Snyder. When you look at all the movies with Zack Snyder's involvement, this could be just a coincidence, but I'm going to say this. When you look at Zack Snyder's involvement, there's always the strong females, but there's also the strong males, like Justice League, where the Amazons have their moment, Wonder Woman has their moment, but the League, like the axe on Superman's shoulder, Batman gunning down parademons, the Flash scene that won an Oscar, he makes it so you have those both, though, where you can hold up both sides. So I don't want to hear that it's not possible. It's ultimately what it comes down to is that you're not creative enough.
Well, they hire it's the hiring practices. They hire people who know the producers, and these people have very little experience. I mean, look at the showrunners for Rings of Power.
Oh boy,
Patrick Payne and Patrick McKay for starters.
You're gonna make Max's head explode if you mention that show.
and I'm gonna even go further. Game of Thrones, D.B. Weiss and Dave Benioff. I mean, the reason why the early seasons were successful is because the first 3 books, Game of Thrones, Clash of Kings, and Storm of Swords, were solid, books by George. And that they simply adapted. They loved those first 3 books, and then after that, they didn't really care after that, and they just kind of started doing what they wanted. They just wanted to be done. Like season 8 was basically anyone could tell they just mailed it in. The fact that they kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet just proves it. So.
The other big thing too, Nerdporial, is like you said, people are cast or hired from, it's kind of who you know, right? It's like, we got a guy who's he's one of J.J. Abrams' kids, he's been talking to J.J. Abrams or whatever, and so it's this kind of nepotism that it's who you know, and then you get this job, but also, right. But also, I would say if you have a name, and sometimes even if you don't have a name, realistically, that you're attached to a show, when you're cast on that show for directorial purposes or producer purposes, you don't actually create anything. You don't actually have a say in what goes on, because these corporations have already deemed what they want in the show, whether it's, Moon Knight, Falcon Winter Soldier, WandaVision. They already know how they want the show to play out. They just hire these people. They go, write a few scenes, write whatever. But for the most part, we'll take it from there.
That comes from that investment company, right? Was it BlackRock Investments or something that funds all this crap?
I unfortunately I'm not as well versed in that depth of field.
It's a comics division probably type of thing.
Yeah, comics would know. Absolutely. Comics or culture. Those guys would be able to tell you.
But what I will say is that it does kind of seem like, actually first, I want to bring this up, going back to what we're talking about. There was, and this gets into my conversation about a race bending or gender bending a character, because those who know me, and I've been watching the channel for a while, know that I've been, for the most part, enjoying Halo. Now, some parts of it, there are some characters that they just create, there OCs that they create that are unlikable. Like, I'll straight up say this Quan character who's in the movie and all the trailers, she is horrible, unlikable. And then apparently the most recent episode, she's the main character. So I'm like, it's got Master Chief as the central character. You can't do this. But my point is that in that show, what they did was, so they race bent two characters, Captain Jacob Keyes and then his daughter. Now here's the thing about why I like one as opposed to the other, and this will be like the last thing we bring up because is because when you look at Jacob Keyes, they changed the character a little bit and made him, like, in my mind, kind of better. They wrote him really well, as opposed to his daughter, because in the games, in the books, Miranda Keyes is a naval commander. She's like very strong, very powerful, and very much a central tenet of Halo. In the show, she's just a scientist. I'm like, did you?
So Jared, hold on a second. You're the one guy who likes Halo?
I'm the one guy. Let me put it this way: there are some parts I very much hate, like Quan and like Miranda Keyes. But I'm not there saying there's no redeeming qualities of the show, because the action's good when it does show up. They do make a lot of lore references that I actually enjoy very much. The sound effects. I like the guy who's playing Chief. I just wish he wouldn't take his helmet off every 30 seconds. And the thing is that, let me put it this way, I was fine with him taking off and like at the end of the first episode, fine. But the problem with it is that they really screw with the fans, because what they'll do is that he'll take off his helmet, put it back on, take off his helmet, put it back on. So I'm like, at least make up your mind so I can decide if I'm angry or just like, you know what, fine.
Or they'll just have him take off all his armor and you show his naked butt on there.
No, or that. No, this show also has a very unhealthy obsession with people's rear ends. It's like, it's like butt. I'm like, what?
To be fair, I can't speak intelligently. I was never a fan of the Halo video game, and so I don't really know the show as well, and I haven't watched it. But I do know that you are a fan of it, Jared. And like I said to Gray earlier, hey, Gray liked Doctor. God, I don't even want to think about Doctor Strange. But yeah, I guess Gray liked it. But hey, I'm super happy that he liked it, because I did. It's an abomination, But hey, I'm glad that he liked
Strange 2 or 1.
The second one. I enjoyed the first Doctor Strange. The second Doctor Strange.
I will say though, my opinions actually have changed on the movie Black Panther. Before I hated it, but recently my dad and I did a watch through of the movie. We watched through all the MCU movies up to Endgame, because that in my mind is the actual MCU. That's it. It ends there. But I rewatched it and I'm like, this movie's not as bad as I thought it was.
That's really cool. You got to do that with your dad, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Zach, have you done that with your old boy yet?
Oh yeah, through time we've watched all of the MCU movies except we didn't watch Eternals and we didn't watch Shang-Chi, and we probably won't watch. God. Well, we might watch Doctor Strange too, but we've watched all the important ones.
I will say I enjoyed Shang-Chi. Eternals, I enjoyed it first, and then as I watched it, my opinion got lower and lower and lower, because it's a little too boring for an MCU movie. Nothing happens for long periods of time.
That's the magic of modern movies and modern shows now. I could watch older movies, older Star Trek, and still enjoy it after multiple viewings stuff. Try to rewatch, newer movies, like the new Star Wars trilogy or the new, MCU movies or the new Star Trek shows and stuff. And they get worse, and the magic is they get worse and worse with repeated viewings. Yeah, it's very un-nerd friendly, un-nerdporial.
Yeah, exactly. And what's funny is that even when I watch like all the old DC movies, like Batman '89, I'm like, this is great. I mean, there have been some good stuff to come out. Like I enjoyed the Matt Reeves Batman. But I will say I agree with the nerdporial. A lot of it is like, okay, that's fine. I'll watch it once.
Disposable entertainment is what I call it.
Nothing is making me watch a movie 8 times, like the Snyder Cut. Let me put it to you that sense, where technically that's a movie that came out in 2017, but was hidden for 4 years. But my point still stands. But it's like. And what's very interesting is that when you rewatch a lot of these movies and then go to like the new ones, the quality difference stands out. Like when I compare Captain America: The Winter Soldier to Eternals. I'm like, what went wrong here?
There's no comparison. I mean, we're talking. It wouldn't even be considered in the same category for me. You know what I mean? They're just completely two different mindsets and two different films. So,
and that's why I have all my movies on DVD. So if they ever take them away because they're awesome, because if they're ever like air quotes problematic, guess what? I still got it. Like if HBO Max and Warner Brothers ever makes the inevitable stupid decision to take the Snyder Cut off of HBO Max, I can just reach over to my shelf and go, joke's on you, Warner Brothers.
I think that's smart, Jared. I still need to hop on the Blu-ray game. I've always been a collector of books and hardcovers and comics and like the hard copies of reading material. I've never really been a big hard copy DVD or Blu-ray guy, but I think I need to start looking.
You should, based upon the fact of like Disney is editing their stuff on Disney Plus. You want the originals, Max.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's a good
because
point.
I don't want some bastardization of good movies. So I'm like, because who knows what they'll target next? They could start editing out 300.
Yeah, for real. Oh God, please no.
Yes, please no. But so before I end the stream, I have one more question for you all. Yes, Lone Wolf Club, nice. Now, what would you say? Where would you? Okay. Now, first off, since we were talking about MCU movies, I might as well ask this one. What's your top 5 MCU movies? Mine are The Winter Soldier is number 1, because that movie is god tier. Avengers Infinity War. Iron Man 1, because it started. That's another movie that actually holds up remarkably well. Both in terms of story and VFX, honestly, because when you watch it, where like they're putting the suit on him, and I'm like, this was made in 2008.
Yeah.
But anyway, so 4 would be Captain America 1, and then my final MCU movie is probably, if I had to pick, would probably be, I'd say, Thor 2.
Oh wow,
that's a dark horse.
Yeah, that's a dark world.
Yeah.
Well, because guess what? Considering what we got after that,
well, that's gonna piss a lot of people off right there, man. Because a lot of people, well, that was still right around the time Ragnarok was like everyone just loved the comedic genius of it. And
I will say this. Hang on, I had a conversation on my podcast about that. The thing about I think, and Max, you can tell me your thoughts on this. So yes, I understand they wanted to put humor with Thor. Now my question to you, and I brought this up on the podcast. I think that Infinity War was the perfect balance of humor for the Thor character, because he was still that serious character that we, like, air quotes, grew up with when the movies were coming out. But then also he had these comedic moments, because even the comic store occasionally drops a joke. But it's like, okay, but it wasn't like to the point where he basically became a PG-13 Deadpool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think Infinity War, and I haven't watched it since it came out, probably. It's been a while. But I think the reason why Thor probably had a little bit of humor in Infinity War was because he also had the Guardians with him. Because I believe when they go to reclaim his hammer, or when they're creating Stormbreaker, Rocket Raccoon goes with him. Yeah. And so you get some of that comedic humor there.
It wasn't Taika directing.
Yeah. So,
and
did you want to go around the horn?
And Gray, I have a big. See, here's the thing. That movie is okay, but it's supremely overrated. The only reason why Avengers 1 is held up to this esteem is because it was the first time we saw multiple superheroes in a movie. That's it. Okay, so the way I just wanted to throw that out there, because I saw someone giving some props to Joss Whedon. I had to interfere. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go in this motion, so it'll be Max, and Nerdporial, and then Zach. So Max, go ahead.
Cool. Yeah. I would probably say I would switch my top two. I'd go. I think Infinity War might be number
And
one
Lord
for me.
Thoth is here.
What's up, LT?
So,
How's it going? Sorry it took me so long. A lot of stuff to deal with. But,
Canadian Air Force
sorry,
is
I
here,
missed the
backing me up.
300 conversation.
There's always a replay. I'll tell you, after Zach, you can give your top 5 MCU movies. All right, Max, go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd probably say Infinity War was number one. Captain America: Winter Soldier would be number two. I think 3. And Jared, you're gonna hit me for this one. Is probably Avengers, the first one.
Where is that removed from stream button right here?
Yeah, right. kick me out. Kick me out.
No, it's all good.
That would probably be 3. 4. I want to say Guardians, the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Even though that made every superhero movie a joke fest from that point on.
Correct. It did give a lot of people this like free, license to, hey, let's just make jokes the entire MCU film and ruin characters because Guardians worked, right? But how it was done in the beginning was really, really well, handled. Number 5, though, man, I think I either got to go with it's got to be one of the 3 OGs, Captain America, Iron Man, or the first Thor.
Yes.
All 3 are so good. So if I could tie any of those to my number 5, I don't know. I'd probably say Cap, maybe.
Yeah, I think Cap is pretty good. And so, Nerdporial.
Well, I thought I'm with Max on number 1 is Infinity War. I felt the stakes were really high. The heroes were getting their butts kicked for once.
Yes, I love that.
And it was just nice having having bad guys be bad guys and the stakes, and once again the stakes being high. And it just felt like it was up there with Empire Strikes Back, that type of movie and stuff. So, so that's my number 1. Number 2 is probably Winter Soldier. Same thing, Russo brothers are the best when it comes to MCU. I think the Russo brothers did the best job, did the best consistent job. In my opinion.
Yes.
I initially fell asleep. I'll be honest, when Winter Soldier first came out, I actually fell asleep during the movie. I know I'm going to get a lot of crap for this, but
there are some slow parts.
But I rewatched the movie right before Endgame came out, and it's great. And plus, you have Robert Redford, who elevates anything he's in and stuff. So
he was good. The bad guy.
I was initially disappointed that Hydra was in the modern era and stuff. I guess I wanted to see more comic booky Captain America, World War II stuff, because I grew up when I was a kid in the 90s. The Captain America and the Avengers was a arcade game, and I wanted to see more of Red Skull and see more of that, of that story, that comic book story and stuff. So, but hey, what we got was what we got. So it's still pretty good. But that's my number 2. I think number 3 would be Guardians Volume 2. I really liked Guardians Volume 2. The ending was a gut punch. It really showcased what's his name, Star-Lord, or Star-Lord's relationship with I forget Michael Rooker's character's name.
Yondu.
I'm not your father, but he ain't.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, him. Yeah. But it was a really meaningful, because he dies and stuff. Spoiler alert. And it was just a wonderfully meaningful part, and that kind of what really sold me on that. So that's my number 3. Number 4 would be probably Iron Man, the first one, because I think the first Iron Man's great. I initially didn't see it. I initially wasn't interested when it came out. It came out when I was roughly about to graduate college and stuff. I was kind of sick of those type of movies where the character was kind of like that and stuff. It was just very, sarcastic and it was too grounded and stuff. And I'm sick of all these because the Dark Knight just came out, and the Christopher Nolan Batmans were big and stuff. So every superhero related thing was grounded. I wanted that colorful. See, I grew up watching Batman. I grew up playing Nintendo games like Mario games, and watching The Simpsons. So I'm into that really colorful. I'm more into that colorful comic booky type of of art. or the look. I'll say look, that comic booky look and stuff, that colorful look and stuff. So I don't know. But then again, that was just me judging that by its cover. So, but it was actually really good. So that's my number 4, and then number 5, I would say probably. Probably tied between First Captain America and the First Avengers movie.
Yes,
it's hard for me to tell which one. Yeah, so I love the because the First Captain America is basically a period piece and stuff. Takes place obviously during World War II and stuff, and then Avengers was really cool, like you said, showing superheroes cross over together for the first time, and I felt they all had distinct roles, and I love that funny Galaga gag and stuff. It's very very Joss Whedon-esque type of humor and stuff. Hey, he's playing Galaga.
I think that first Captain America movie is probably the most pure superhero classic golden/silver age comic book movie there ever has been, and that includes Superman 1978. I think it's very much true to the character. That's what makes that one so good.
And what's hilarious about that movie is that all of the Easter eggs, because if you look at that montage, we're showing him like inspiring the troops are reading the first Captain America comic of him like punching Hitler on the cover, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Good call, LT.
So Zach's.
Yeah, I got. I'm gonna go Winter Soldier's number 1. Jump all the way up to Iron Man for 2.
Oh wow, okay, bringing it high up on the list. Nice.
Yeah, I got Captain America: The First Avenger 3, and 4 is Guardians 1. And I'd like to go all the way back to Blade for 5, but if I can't, because it's not.
Hey, let's go! Let's go!
I love that
I gotta see
callback
that again.
Yeah,
so
that would be my number 5
movie.
if I can count it.
To watch it.
You've never watched Blade?
I haven't watched Blade.
Oh man,
you got to.
So many people have given me hell for that one.
I have a soft spot for all 3. Actually, I love those Blade movies.
I agree. The second one was awesome. Third one was fun too. Trinity was okay.
The second one was when we were introduced to those vampires that had that like jowl that kind of opened up. You know, it was super cool.
Yeah.
The Blade, because Blade was my first introduction to comic book movies, if you will, like that whole era where it was like Blade, Daredevil, the first X-Men, the first Punisher. But Blade, I remember getting a 1/6 scale Wesley Snipes Hot Toys Blade figure. I still have them. And I don't want to hear anything about Marvel saying that Black Panther is his first superhero.
Oh god,
first Black superhero. No, he's not. He literally is not. Even I was like, wait a second here.
Exactly. Like me as a little kid, like having the 1/6 scale Blade action figure and the throwing, the throwing blade that he has and the big sword and everything. I was like, dude, this is way cooler than any film I've ever watched. So yeah, dude, Zach's great call.
I will say this, Max. I got into an argument with someone talking about Zack Snyder's portrayal of Wonder Woman, and they said, "Well, it was the first. It was supposed to be the first. It was in reaction to the photo of her holding up the severed heads." And they said, "So this is going to be Zack Snyder's version of Wonder Woman." And I said, "Yeah, that's great." And she goes, "Well, it's because for the first female character superhero movie, she's a murderer." And I'm like, Wonder Woman is not the first female superhero movie. First off, you have Catwoman, but you also have Supergirl. There was a Supergirl movie in like the 80s or so, and she was
1980,
like, yeah,
yeah,
like,
1984.
there was a super. I love knowing all this because then I can really see because it screws with their heads a little bit.
It's almost like the Roger Corman Fantastic Four film, which is hilarious. If you guys want a good laugh.
I've seen clips of that.
That was a lot of fun.
And that's
yeah.
the closest to the characters that we've ever seen on
Yes,
film.
it's true.
Yeah.
It's
I have
true.
a buddy who's like not as into comics as I am, but I showed him the honest trailer for the Japanese Spider-Man where he has a machine gun and a Megazord, and he was like, "This is the greatest version of Spider-Man ever."
Yeah.
Nice.
All right,
LT,
Throb.
I'm interested to hear your take on these.
Top 5 MCU movies. Go.
Did Zach? Are you all done, man?
I'm done. Yeah.
Okay, he was done.
The top.
My mic drop was Blade.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know
great.
what? That mic drop with Blade, mic drop for Blade that's pretty good. I know it's not an MCU movie, but
Okay, it's fine.
I think hands down greatest opening scene of any superhero movie, and I would even argue any movie of all time, is that Blade movie, man, with that metal
bloodbath.
song going on and the whole vampire thing where he starts just slicing and dicing, right, man? That is just unbelievable. I can go back and watch the first 10 minutes of that first Blade movie and get pumped every time. So, man, I really appreciate that callback. But so if we're talking MCU movies, I'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
I love Avengers: Infinity War, number 5.
Okay.
Only because it is really so born in the 70s, raised on Silver Bronze Age superheroes. That is the culmination of comic book superheroes that DC and Marvel has never done until that point.
Mhm.
That was the greatest amalgamation of so many storylines into one set piece where they had the bad guy, you had all the heroes, and it ended not in a good way, so you had to go to Endgame, right? That was just such a great story and well told. So that's my number 5.
Okay.
Okay, so number 4. I like the Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one, because
Okay.
as a cosmic superhero kind of fan, I'm a big X-Men fan. I'm just disappointed we haven't seen the X-Men really in the MCU yet. And that travesty that that Doctor Strange movie that just came out.
Don't spoil
it's
it.
just-
I haven't seen
I'm
it
not
yet.
going to even count that because that was just awful. So I liked the Guardians of the Galaxy movie because it was fun, callback to 80s music, soundtrack, the whole storyline was just so much fun. That's what James Gunn does best. Love that one. That's my number 4. Iron Man 2.
What?
I love Iron Man 2
Oh,
as my
all
number
right.
3
Off the
because
board.
the hottest character in the Marvel universe is
Oh,
Scarlett
yeah.
Johansson as a Black Widow.
Yeah, there you go.
And when she walks on screen and does her little dance, and then she has that whole hallway scene, man, just makes it for that movie. But it's also a coming of age for kind of the Iron Man character. He's that ego-driven. He's a B-level character in the comic books, and Iron Man 1 would kind of be my honorable mention. But I think Iron Man 2 really brings him home. It shows him with adversity. Everything happens. It's a crazy, fun Marvel movie, and it brings the B-level character Iron Man into the A-list, and that's what I love about Iron Man 2.
Doesn't he say something like, "I want one of those," or "Give me one of those," or something when Black
want
Widow
one.
walks in?
I want
Yeah,
one.
I want one. Yeah.
I want one. Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
talking about Natasha Kerensky, right? And as a classic, it's funny because this character is so much fun when you talk about her within the classic Silver Age Marvel comic universe. She's appeared in Daredevil. She's appeared in Nick Fury. She's appeared in a lot of those old comic books as kind of like this sideline character, but to make her an A-list character by these movies was just spot on. I'm surprised in the first Avengers movie that they really didn't lean into the Scarlet Witch. They didn't because we have the Wasp, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, are original Avengers. It's so much that they did, so much strange kind of synergy that they created in these movies that they didn't bring in the Wasp, of course, Janet Van Dyne in the Avengers movies, but they made Natasha Kerensky that kind of character. So number 2. So okay. We're moving up to my number 1. So when I pick my number 2, I know you guys are going to figure out what my number 1 is. Can anybody guess what the number 2 is?
Captain America 1.
I like Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yes.
There you go.
Nice.
There you go.
Well done.
America.
Good call.
Go
good
America. As a Canadian, I can appreciate that character. Captain America and Superman are my two bastions of paladinhood. They're the shining light that we all aspire to as a soldier, as a veteran. I love the Captain America character because he's come through the darkness. He's sacrificed himself for his country and for the people, for freedom. He's the ultimate character. And that first Avenger movie, even though it's kind of plodding and dry in some places, that whole grenade scene is just epitomes soldiers that I've fought with, cried with, bled with, and when I look at that, when he does that, I said, I would have done that. And I'm sure
that is Steve Rogers.
That is Steve Rogers, MVP. I know you would have done the same thing. Any other veterans, whether they're on the panel or in the chat, would have done the same thing. You look at your guys around you, the people that you've vowed to die for them, and he does something like that. Absolutely love that scene. That's one of my favorite scenes in any movie I've ever seen. So that's my number 2. My number 1 is, of course, The Winter Soldier, because I think it is a great comic story. You've got a great villain. You've got the whole problem with corruption in the government, corruption within your own organization. You think that you're serving this greater good. All these people around you, you think they're there for you, that they're going to do what you would do yourself, which is what happened in Captain America: The First Avenger. You see, well, in World War II, it was all about beating the bad guys. In Captain America: The Winter Soldier, it's all about beating the guys that are at your back, that you think that have your back. And it's a different take on such a great story, which is Captain American. His journey within the first Avenger and the Winter Soldier is just so profound. It really brings out that that fervor that you have to protect your country, to protect the people that you vowed to protect, and at the end it's very dark, and you have to look at it. That whole elevator scene where he's like, "Hey, anybody, you want to get out now? Get out now, because in the next few minutes you're going to feel pain." And that's another one of those scenes. And so those are my top 5. I know I've talked a lot, and I apologize.
No, it's good. No, it's all good. But
it's
also,
a lot of fun.
Actually, a good point that I just thought of listening to you, Thoth, is that when you look at Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier, that directly sets up what he does in Civil War, because that's really the start, at least the way I see it, of him saying you can't always trust those in authority. Because if you notice, in Captain America 1, he was the soldier. He was that dude that just followed orders.
Yes.
In Captain America 2, he was that. And then Hydra comes up. He's like, I can't always trust those in direct authority. And then Civil War comes out, and then he's like, yeah, you guys are telling me to do a bad thing. I can't do it. In fact, he even says in that, what happens if they tell us to do something we really shouldn't be doing?
That's the hero's journey, though.
Yes.
His arc between those 3 movies is unbelievable, which leads into him picking up Thor's hammer, where he is actually worthy. And that whole hero's journey is just so unbelievably profound and amazing. And that's why when he does that, everybody in the theater that I was in was like gasping and cheering. And even though Endgame has a lot of problems, that whole scene was, there you go. That's
and
the
he
end.
finally says it's Avengers Assemble. But
That's right. Yeah.
When he picks up that hammer and he's calling down the lightning. It's not just like in the comics where, like, okay, he grabs the hammer and he does a quick swing. No, he's twirling it. He's calling down freaking lightning. It's like and what's kind of interesting is that then that harkens back to Avengers 1, where he and Tony are in that confrontation, and Tony Stark says, everything special about you came out of a bottle.
Yeah,
And
which
then,
is not
and then he's
true.
like, nope, I have a magic hammer that says otherwise.
Everything that was special came out of his heart and his soul, but that's all. That's not genetics. Like that's not something that happens because you had two parents that had a child and then you grew up. That's all learned behavior. That's all heart and soul and spirit. And that's why I shout out to the veterans every single time I get a chance to, because the people who decide to take that vow to serve their country, to sacrifice everything, to be there for those people who can't protect themselves, that's what he did. He made that vow that even though he was a weakling, even though he wanted to keep going and going and going, and they kept failing him and failing him and failing him, and ultimately, when he jumped on that grenade, it showed that he was a different person, that he was a different breed, and when I ignore the end of Endgame, where he's this old guy, where he went back into the past and he decided to spend his whole life with his love and stuff like that. That's not Steve Rogers. That's not the Captain America I love.
He would have come back.
Yeah, he knew that the world and the country and freedom needed him, and there's no way he would do that. But I think that that's a great character arc. When he does that, when he faces down Thanos and his army, and he's sitting there and he's bleeding and his
I thought he was going to die.
Yeah, and he didn't know all those superheroes, the armies that were coming behind him. He didn't know that was going to happen. He was ready to jump into the battle and die for freedom and to defeat the bad guys. That is a true soldier. That's a true American. That's a patriot at heart right there, man. That's why I love those two movies, because those two are that's the penultimate chapter in the Marvel universe, and that's what we're missing in comics today and in movies today, is the writing from that age. We're forgetting that most of those people who are writing comics in the 60s and 70s, they either lived through or had close family that survived World War II and the Korean War and even Vietnam. These guys, that's why these comic stories, they survive into today, and the stuff that I'm reading today, it just disappoints me because it doesn't have the same spirit.
Yeah, and I actually a fun fact about that, and then I'll end it because I know Max and Nerd off to go. But I was teaching, back when I was in college, I was a teaching assistant. So my professor told me, hey, you should teach like an extra credit lecture on the history of politics and comic books, because she knew I like that type of stuff. So I'm talking about the first Captain America issue, and I talk about how the issue of him punching Hitler, that came out before World War II. In other words, it wasn't as well known what Hitler was doing. So as far as everyone else knew, he was just punching a world leader. And and everyone was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's
super interesting. Sorry to cut you off there, Jared. I do got to dip out. I know Zach's.
I'm gonna end now. So
okay, sounds good, brother.
So hope you guys enjoyed the stream, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on. Thoth, you and I will do a stream sometime.
Absolutely, anytime, man.
I would love, because your two characters you mentioned, Captain America and Superman, they're my favorite too. So I'd love to nerd out with you about them. For the exact reasons that you brought up. So anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed our discussion about 300, the MCU, and Captain America. Remember, like, comment, subscribe. We have some fantastic content coming to you guys. Stuff aligning with Zack Snyder, stuff aligning with DC and Marvel, and hopefully DC rebooting their continuity with Dark Crisis. Just saying. And we will be doing a review of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I'm going tomorrow with friends, and then I can talk about it. And then you can hear my absolute thoughts, because you can hear my unfiltered thoughts, because I get the feeling I will have some words from what people have been saying. But
good luck
again, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on and making this a fun streaming discussion.
Absolutely, brother. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, likewise. If you ever get into Star Trek, I might be the person to talk to.
I might just do that. That'll be fun. All right, everyone, have a fantastic weekend, and I apologize for all the bots. I will clean that up. I now have mods, so I'll make Max a mod because my Marines are good at guarding things. I had to say that. All right, so stay at work, everyone. Bye-bye.
Night, everyone.
See ya.